Yeah, so today I want to talk a little bit about what I've been able to do using Claude Cowork
Mhm.
for a lot of go-to-market related kind of tasks
Cool.
and I think all of those things set me up to be able to take full advantage of this platform. But yeah, the capabilities these days are just mind-blowing. Even
GTM AI podcast with Jonathan Moss and Coach K, where you get the latest with AI and GTM today. GTM AI podcast with Jonathan Moss and Coach K. Tune in now, don't delay. Catch the future
This
on
is yet
display.
another episode of the GTM AI podcast, and I have the privilege of having a returning guest, Victor
yes,
Adefuye, back on the podcast. You talked to my co-host Jonathan before, so I was like, this time it's my turn. It's my turn to have some Victor magic. Really
awesome,
excited to have you.
awesome.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing really well. I always, whenever I think of you, I remember your name, Coach K. I went to Duke, so I will
Oh,
never
there.
ever forget your name ever.
I love it.
And you will always be a hero to me. So that's what you got going.
Well, I have to tell you a funny story before we get into it. I had a friend of mine, or not friend, it became a friend, but like when I first met him, he went to Duke and was an avid, crazy Coach K fan, like the real Coach K. So when I
Hmm.
introduced myself, he's like, "You can't have that name. There's only one person that's name." I'm like, "It's just a nickname, bro. It's I know I'm not the legit Coach K. Like I have leave to him. Like I get it." So, anyways, but I appreciate you having letting me have that grace to
Yes,
be
of course.
the this Coach K and the other Coach K.
To the other one. Yeah,
the,
yeah,
the other ones, all credit due to him because he's amazing. So, anyways,
yeah.
I'm so glad to have you. I'm sure people have heard your podcast because you actually were on when we published yours was like not even 6 months ago. It was like 4 or 5 months ago, something like that. But like,
Yeah.
how crazy has things been since we've like the last podcast? It's like night and day difference with AI. It's crazy. It's
It
crazy.
really is. And I think the last 2 months have been the
Yeah.
craziest.
Yeah.
And it's like people don't understand what has happened. And I try to communicate it to my friends who are not in this AI world, and they're still like, oh, there's hallucinations. And I'm like, that was a problem from a while ago, and now it's agents, and you could do so much more
Yeah.
now. And yeah, it's just really a wild time.
Yeah. It is. I'm always like blown away at how fast the things we're going to go over today are things that have been developed in the last month. So that's what's crazy is just the capabilities we have right now, which is nuts. Speaking of which, for someone, if they listen to the entire podcast, what are the things we can get out of listening to you jam and show us some stuff?
Yeah, so today I want to talk a little bit about what I've been able to do using Claude Cowork
Mhm.
for a lot of go-to-market related kind of tasks and
Cool.
things that actually I've been doing for a long time. But then when Cowork came out, it allowed me to, if the right word is, agentify these tasks. And I still
Right.
think there's a lot of value in understanding what good looks like and prompting and all of that. And I think all of those things set me up to be able to take full advantage of this platform. But yeah,
Mm,
the capabilities these days are just mind blowing, even compared to what I talked to Jonathan about many
I
months
know.
ago.
It's crazy. So I'm gonna tease up a little bit. You're gonna go through three main workflows. So lead
Hmm.
research,
Yep.
mass call analysis, and then
Yep.
creating make automations using Cowork, which is cool,
Yes.
really cool. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
This will be fun.
Yeah.
Before we get to our hands dirty, like I know the audience always appreciates to get to know you as a human. So if
Yeah.
you can't see, he's my glorious bald brother from another mother. So tell me about Victor. Who are you, both the non-resume version as a human being, and then tell me how you got to this AI automation craziness stuff you're doing.
Yeah. So I've been in this go-to-market enablement training space for over a
Yeah.
decade. I started a company 15 years ago that was my first experience in building a sales team from the ground up, and
Yeah.
I really loved it. And so once, unfortunately, I didn't get the traction that I wanted with that company, but I pivoted towards helping at that time founders who were raising their first big rounds and hiring their first salespeople and helping them to figure out how to do that, who to hire, what their go-to-market should be, messaging, playbooks, those types of things. And
Mhm.
then my career's kind of taken off since then. I think most recently I was an MD at Winning by Design for 5 years, working with Jocko and the team over there. And then
Cool.
I left a little over 2.5 years ago to go back on my own because I think the most important thing that has happened in this go-to-market space is AI, and I really wanted to be at the ground level and taking advantage of
Yeah.
it and helping companies figure out how to fully maximize it. So that's what I've been doing,
Yeah.
working with mostly B2B software companies, some professional services, mostly PE-backed companies, helping them to figure out where in their workflows AI can fit, or how to prioritize, how to train their team, coach their team in adopting these tools.
Yeah, what I appreciate about you, Victor, is we only recently I got to know you because of JMO bringing you onto the podcast and introducing you, and because I didn't know that you did this before. Obviously, I have a lot of respect for Women by Design, but then just getting to know you, obviously listening to the first podcast, and then you and I have spoken a couple times since then. But it's always nice as a person who's been in enablement for 12 plus years to hear someone like yourself and how you think through and how you function through the enablement process. And it's people like yourself that just get me geeked out because I feel like you think about it in the correct way. So you have that foundation, fundamental type view, and then you start adding on the AIs where you become really wicked. What's the right word? Wicked impactful. I don't know if that's the right
Yeah,
terminology, but
yeah,
really
yeah.
impactful because like you have the fundamentals plus the AI automation side that makes you really dangerous in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
really
Look, at the end of the day, what makes AI work well is understanding what good looks like.
good. Yeah.
And that has come through the enablement
Yes.
training foundation, right? Like
Yes.
I've been teaching people how to write a good email for a long time, how to prospect research, which is one of the things that we're going to talk about today. It's easy for me then to turn that into a prompt and say, this is how you
Right.
write a good email. It's got this section, it's got that. This is how you personalize it.
Yes.
The same training that I used to give to humans and hope
Is
that
that
they will
AI? Right?
remember and implement it. Now I give the same training to AI,
Yes.
and it's a little bit more reliable in doing the right thing. Yeah.
Yes, that's I've been telling people for 4 years. I'm like, guys, enablement is perfectly set up to do this as AI trainers because that's all we do. Because AI needs to know what does good look like, what does bad look like. Here's your instructions, here's a step by step, and that's what we've
Mhm.
done for years.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I just love that you're doing this. I think it's awesome. Let's get into it, shall we? So,
Yeah.
which
Do you
one do you
want
want
to
to start
start
with? You
with?
have three. You
Yeah,
tell.
let's do lead research because that's
Let's do
one of
it.
my favorite use cases. So I'm going to
Yeah, let's
share
do
the
it.
screen. Is that okay?
Yeah, please do. Let's do it.
All right.
This is like
So
people love this stuff. By the way, I love seeing the geekiness stuff. This is fun.
yeah, so this is my instance of Claude, the desktop app, and as you can see, I am in the Cowork part of it. Cowork, I think, if not the folks in the audience, this is something that Anthropic came up with maybe a little bit over a month and a half ago. It is essentially a agentic platform similar to Claude Code, but without the technical kind of command line coding interface.
Right.
Instead, what it borrows from Claude Code, which I think is the game changer, is a multi-agent architecture that can
Mm,
actually take actions in your computer, on your computer, in files, in folders, and then do things for you. It's almost like we've been talking about this agent thing for a long time and the difference between agents and chatbots. And
right.
this for me really crystallized that for me. It's not, let's have a conversation back and forth. It's, here's my goal. Here's a bunch of instructions. Execute
Right.
on it. Do it for me, as opposed to me doing it myself. So,
Yeah,
really
prompting over.
a game changer. And one of the top use cases I use it for is account research. So, before I show
Mm,
you what's possible, I want to show you a little bit of a setup. One of the things that is great about Anthropic is their ability to create what they call skills. So I don't know if
yes.
you're familiar with skills, are you?
Oh yeah, very very
Okay.
in deep. Yes,
So I love
but
skills.
for the audience, let's go. I want to make sure they hear
Yeah.
your perspective because I hear people describe different ways, and I love different people's angles. So give me your goods.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to think about it is almost like it's a custom GPT that's packaged in a way that allows the agents to tap into that set of knowledge and that process in a certain way to deliver a
Right.
consistent outcome. And these are a bunch. We're going to see some of these skills later today, but where is my research?
You know what I love about these is that unlike a GBT, you can stack them a little bit easier, so they work a little bit better together, which is pretty cool.
Mhm.
That's what I love about them.
Yep, yep. So this is the one that we're going to start with. It's a skill that I created called research prospect. And
Hmm.
so I've taught it how to do external research on prospects and clients for my business, what that research looks like, what the outputs I want look like, what the questions it should be asking in the research, what is it about their business, their sales motion, who the stakeholders are, anything about their competitors, their strategic direction, profiles of their leadership team. And then in here, based off of that research, likely sales team pain points, and then a fit assessment, right? And so I've trained this thing on who my ideal customer is, how to do research on them, and what to look for. And so it's got these detailed instructions. It's got a bunch of reference files that it uses to do the scoring for my work. So skills are really important. They package the how-to for the agent. And so the one that we're going to use right now for this task is the prospect research one. Make sense?
Love it. Yep, I'm
All
with you.
right. So what does that look like? Again, this is an agentic platform. It can take actions on your computer in the cloud and do things with it. Open up folders, create documents, delete documents, move things around, etc. And so for this, I will give it a list of I'm giving access to a folder that has a lead list on it. So I sponsored a conference last year. In this folder, there are about 360 prospects in that folder. And so if I want to figure out who to reach out to, then I can give Cowork access to the folder and then have it start. So what I would do is say attached is a folder that contains leads from a recent talk. I want to reach out to the top 10 leads on the list, but I want to prioritize my outreach and then write personalized emails to each or to the top, I don't know, let's call it the top 3. Right. And so that's the prompt. It has access to the folder. I love connecting different folders that I've already, or different projects that I've already built. And so I have a project that I'm calling Active Lead Nurture Bot. And so what that project does is it basically draws on some content library that I have, my case studies for my business, little offers that I like to give out to folks. Check out this GPT that gives them a taste of my work. And so I'm giving it access to that folder so it can draw on the rules in that folder and the examples in writing its customized email. So I'm going to.
And you did the connectors from that function, correct? Yes.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Right. So then write personalized emails to the top 3 using the instructions and knowledge base of the attached project. And so
what's fascinating about this is that your prompt is not that crazy. Like I remember the days of I still teach about XML prompting in JSON or head markdown, but like when you have the context, the prompting becomes a totally different and easier function. You know what I mean? Which is crazy.
Yeah, and that's why these skills are so important. That's why having the foundation of projects are so important. Because in a way, even though I just wrote a couple of sentences, I've actually given it a ton of information about what I want because it has access to the skill on prospect research. It also has access to the folder, which tells it how I like to write my emails and what I like to offer to folks in those emails. If I didn't have that, then I would have to write a gigantic prompt, but a lot of that gets embodied in the skill, which makes it easier to just write like a simpler prompt. So you can see here what it's doing. And so it's thought process. Let me start by looking at what's in your folder and understanding the data that we're working with, right? It's drawing on certain skills. The list is in Excel, so it needs to read the Excel document. So it used this Excel skills. I love this feature when it asks you questions to clarify your intention.
Yeah, I like that too.
Which category of leads should I prioritize? Okay. 81 flagged. Let's go with the B2B leads, ideal customer profile for prioritization, B2B SaaS with sales teams. Right. And so it's asking me questions about what I care about. Jace is my assistant who helped me put this list together. So should I go with the ones that he chose? And then this is the best part. I love this stuff. Let me research these 15 companies in parallel to determine B2B SaaS fit and sales team presence. So what is that doing? This is a new thing that I think Anthropic released in the last few weeks. parallel subagents, right? And so
Mm,
what it's doing, it's not like one agent that's reading through my spreadsheet and then I'm going to do research on number one. Then when I'm done with that, I'm going to do research on number two, et cetera, et cetera.
mhm,
Instead, it's
mhm.
saying, I got 15 of these things to research to do. So I'm going to spin up 15 little agents. Each one
Yep.
is going to be responsible for researching each individual. And
Yep.
so they go out, they do their work, and then it brings it back, synthesizes it into a coherent report, which of course makes it a lot faster to do this task because you're doing the analysis in parallel versus one at a time.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, this is a
Well, this
process.
is a quick question for you. Because like
Sure.
I've been curious and I've heard from a few people who've been deep into Claude Code, and obviously Claude Cowork just came out fairly recently within the last month or so.
Yep.
I keep hearing that people feel like that more Cowork because of the ease of user interface, and some people get intimidated by Claude Code because of the IDE and that kind of stuff. That they feel like a lot of the things that are capable in Claude Code are going to start to come over to Claude Cowork because they want people to use it. Do you see that same trajectory? Same thing?
I think that
No.
is 100% what's going to happen, and I also believe that eventually the chat interface might go away. I think it's going to be
Mm,
code and cowork because even now, as I've been using cowork over the last few weeks, it's
yeah.
almost weird to go back to chat because I'm like, oh, okay, help me write this follow-up email. Okay, good, you've done that, but like with cowork, I can say send the email and it'll open up my
Right.
Gmail
Right.
and it actually send it. And so there's once you get used to the agent that can actually take action, then
Yeah,
it's
that's
almost
true.
weird to go back.
Very true.
But yeah, so I think the future is in these tasks, in these platforms, and it's really going to change knowledge work, right? This
Totally.
allows me to do a task that would take me hours and hours, but this agent is spinning and it's doing the work, and I can come back to it later and it'll be done. I can go grab a cup of coffee, come back, and my research will be done. I also love this progress checklist over here so you can keep
Yeah,
track
it's nice.
of what it's doing. So we just saw that it's analyzed the leads. Now it's writing a personalized nurture emails for the top three. And then it's the last step is verifying
Cool
and
quality.
saving the final output.
What curious as this is loading, and I know we could probably start another task, but what
Yeah.
integrations have you given permission to? So obviously it's your email, your calendar, like what else have you given access to?
Yeah, it's mostly the tools that I use. And so you could see some of them here. Email, Gamma, I use sometimes. Make, Granola, I use for call recordings at
Right,
times.
right.
Make is my automation platform. We'll talk about that in a second. Obviously, Slack. This stuff is essential, being able to control Chrome and open up windows and take
Oh
action
yeah.
within it. But
Yep.
then these other stuff like Excel and PowerPoint and reading my text messages or whatever. So yeah, I'm always looking at whatever connectors they've come up with and thinking about how to use it for my business. And so, yeah, the more connectors, the better.
I love it, man. That's
Yeah,
groovy.
yeah. So this is a pretty long running task. So
Yeah, let's let it run.
yeah, we could do that. You can see it's got 16 steps over here, right? It's looking up these leads. And you can see that it's the parallel subagents like I told you about. So one of the leads here is from
Right.
Redshirt AI. And so this is the batch of research that it's done on that. One of the leads is from Clary. It's done research on Clary, Gatekeeper, Esper, Sociable, right? And so it's this, yeah, I just love the parallel research part of
All
it.
the stuff. I know it's crazy.
Yeah, and yeah, so it's gonna do that, and then ultimately complete the task. So you could either wait, or I could spin up another one and show you the next use case. What do you think?
Yeah, this is what's cool about tasks. You can let this one run, we can go to the next one. So let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Next task that I use this for is call analysis at scale, and this is another example of having done a lot of work in the past in
Mm.
GPTs, in Claude projects that allow me to analyze the sales calls for my clients, I was ready when Cowork came out to develop skills that reflect that kind of work. And so when Cowork was dropped, I created skills for call analysis. Let me find a folder for you. I have a folder called sample sales calls. And then within it is an inbox folder that has a bunch of sales call transcripts from an old client of mine.
How many do you have in your gas? Like 10, 20?
They're
How many do you
10,
have?
I think they're 10,
10.
10, 10 transcripts.
Cool.
And so I go in here and I've given it access to that folder, and I'm gonna do MEDDPICC. Let's see, analyze the calls in this folder using your MEDDPICC extraction skill.
Yeah.
So there are other skills that I've done for call analysis, but just for the sake of argument, let's stick with MEDDPICC for now.
Right.
So it's a similar thing. It's gonna get access to the folder, it's scanning the folder, then it's checking that skill that I created called
Mhm.
MEDDPICC extraction. The way that the MEDDPICC extraction skill works is I've taught it a standard. First, I've taught it the definition of MEDDPICC. Then I've created a scoring
Right.
system that's like a 0 is this did not come up at all in the conversation. A 1
Right.
is it came up, and then a 2 is like they got it. So think about the economic buyer. A 0 is you
Mhm.
didn't even talk about the economic buyer. A 1 is you talk to your champion and they're like, yeah, Jonathan's going to be the economic buyer. Versus
Right.
a 2, which is I've met the guy, I know what his priorities are, they're aligned,
Yeah.
right? And so I did that for each element of MEDDPICC, gave it a
I
bunch.
love you doing this because I literally did this in I can't say why, but in Momentum we did the same thing with Momentum. That's what we did. We gave it this scoring mechanism. Anyway, so keep going. I just love that
Yeah,
you're doing
yeah,
this.
no, it's
Yeah.
exciting. And then, of
Yeah.
course, again, I love the question asking. So I see 10
Yeah.
transcripts from sales call from different prospects. A few look like duplicates, right? Unique
Mhm.
calls only, internal meeting rather than a sales call. No, I actually don't think that was an internal meeting. So include it. And so, yeah,
You're wrong. Yeah.
I know. Right. And so, again, it's got 10 of these things, right?
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
you could see it's spinning up an analysis, and sometimes you need to give it a little, can you run the analysis in parallel? Otherwise, we're going to be here all day, one call at a time.
Right.
But yeah, what excites me about this particular use case is not just the analysis on the individual calls, but then the synthesis of it. So
Yeah.
there's like there's the individual agents that are doing the call scoring, but then there is a last agent that synthesizes it into a coherent report, which is just magic. And
Yes.
yeah, so this is a big deal because for someone like me who's in this space where often I to diagnose an organization's sales challenges, I need to know how they're performing in
How they're
this or
doing,
that
yeah.
way. And historically, the only ways I've been able to do that is by listening to these calls one at a time.
Yeah.
First, there was AI, and AI allowed me to analyze those calls using chatbots, and now there are agents that can do a lot of the analysis on my behalf.
Exactly.
Yeah, so this one is you could see 7 unique calls. He's launching all 7 MEDDPICC analysis in parallel. So that one is going. Let's see what's going on with
Love
our
it.
lead
Go back
researcher
to our lead
here.
research.
Yep, it's
Still
still
researching.
working.
Did
Still
you connect, by the
researching.
way, did you research the prospecting vibe prospecting app in the background, or what are you using to do the research on your leads?
No, it has access to the web, so it's searching the web on each
Cool.
lead.
Yeah, there's a couple of connectors like to Clay and other. I didn't know if you were
Oh
using
yeah,
like a
yeah,
Clay
yeah.
connector.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not a Clay user, but I'm very Clay curious, and
Yeah, yeah.
especially since they allowed that connector, I do want to play with it. I don't subscribe to Clay. I have Apollo, and Apollo I don't
Mm.
think has created a connector yet. But
I
yes,
don't think so. I haven't seen. Maybe they have it. I'm gonna double check. Actually, I'll look right now.
because that would be great for lead
Yeah,
enrichment to just do it within the exact workflow right now to
yeah.
go and actually
They
find these people's email addresses.
they don't. They have Zoom Info and they have Clay. I don't see
Mhm.
Apollo, and they do have another one called Vibe Prospecting,
Yeah,
which
I
is its
saw that.
own
I don't
unique
know what
thing.
that is. A good name
It,
though.
it's Yeah, it's a cool name. But yeah, I'm with you. It'd be nice to have. I work with mostly Clay, and Clay from a Clay angle it does really good. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. So yeah, these things run in parallel. We give it time to do what it does, but
how do you? Let me ask you this: with this loading,
sure.
with 10 call transcripts and this call analysis, do you feel like and I'd love to hear your opinion because I have my own way of describing this, but I'd love to know. In the past, we were limited to the context windows. You had to use like Gemini to do a certain. Whereas with this, because you're subdividing down the tasks, it means you can do a larger amount of stuff without having the limits of a context window, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
how do you know, like, for example, if you loaded in here 300 calls, what's your confidence to be able to go through all of them all? Is it just a matter of time versus context window, or how do you think about it?
So my understanding is that each subagent has its own context window.
Correct.
And so my conversation context window isn't filled with the skill. It fills it
Right.
with the skill once. And then, of course, there's the calls, but each call is being analyzed by a different agent, and each one has, I think, 200K context
Right.
window. And, you know, what I said a few minutes ago, if there is a agent that synthesizes the outcome, I think that agent is the one, like it's gonna get these reports from the other agents, then it's gonna
Right.
write its own final report. And so it's really just its context window is filled with the outputs from the individual agents. So I don't think
That's a
you
good way
run
to
into the
describe it.
same issues.
Yeah, it's a good way to, especially with the 4.67 million token window
I
now,
know.
which is so
I
nice to
know.
have.
I know. I know.
I think that's what's interesting is that the framework you just talked about is powerful when you think about it. Like when you, to me, it's like a subdivided task. Saying, okay, you're only doing MEDDPICC, and then you're
Yep.
only doing the analysis of the MEDDPICC. It's like you start to
Yep.
stack on top of each other. So then you don't need a big context window because it's very siloed in what the task is doing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Which is kind of
Exactly.
crazy.
Exactly. So everyone, oh, look at this. Is this the answer?
Ah, what do we
There we
got here? What do we
go.
got here?
All right. Lead prioritization. So what does this say here? All right. So
Oh, cool.
agentic distribution list, top 10 ranked. Number one, Clary, this contact to Clary. Because I've taught it a way to score my leads, it's given me a fit score for each of these leads, given me a rationale, an angle for when I reach out to them, and then it's got others that didn't make the
Didn't make the
cut.
cut.
And then it's prioritized the top three, and then it's
And
asking
from
me,
here, you could say, hey, email the top 5, whoever it is, and just
yep,
starts going off,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Now personalized email for the top three. I stopped it there. It paused. It was like before I build the nurture email campaigns, it's got some questions for me. So yeah, it gave itself a little bit of a pause, but otherwise it would be able to go through that entire process. And this is great. So this is my favorite part. And this is why this stuff compounds on each other, right? It's
Right.
because I've already built this project that I use to write personalized email campaigns that I've already trained on my content library, podcasts, white papers, things like that that I want to use to nurture leads, the case studies for my business, these offers that I've given, even a voice filter, Victor's voice, where I'm like, this is how I like to write emails, things like
Right.
that. And all of these things come together into the agent so that it produces something that is more acceptable to me every single
Mm,
time. And if anyone has been already building like custom GPTs, really strong prompts,
right.
that gives you a huge advantage in being able to train these agents because you can draw on all of that stuff as part of its knowledge.
Do you see a place where they give you the ability to actually package this in a way and actually sell it? Because, for example, if you could say, hey, if I, let's just put this into context of this agent. So if you have an agent that's like about call analysis and you say to someone,
Mhm.
if you want to have my framework of call analysis and figure it out for yourself, you would charge you $10, upload your 10 transcripts, blammo, you have all your stuff because it's your IP. Do you see that
Yeah.
world coming where they give you that type of, I don't know if it's a gate or
Yeah.
like that kind of experience? What do you think?
Yeah, I see it in two ways. So one is I do think eventually skills will be monetized, right? Like it
Yeah.
took a lot of work and blood, sweat, and tears to figure out how to build this MEDDPICC scoring skill,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
When I first did this a year and a half or 3 years ago, whenever it was that GPT first dropped, I would just say, score this on a scale of 0 to 2. And then I
Right.
learned, oh my goodness, these things make up a lot of stories. And they're like, and then you run it once and you get a 2 score once. And the next time you run it, same exact transcript, you get a 1.5. And
Right.
so what did I learn from that experience? I learned that you need to give it a lot of examples. You need to say you never give somebody a full score unless this is absolutely there, right? Like a
Right.
0 looks like this, a 0.5 looks like that, a 1 looks like that, right? And so that's experience that you don't get unless you're actually using these tools all the time. And I have a skill that's packaged and reflects that experience. And so if a company wants to analyze their sales calls using MEDDPICC, I can at least conceptually sell them that skill so
Yes.
that they can run the same analysis using their own agents. So I could see it being monetized that way.
Hmm.
Another way is like a dashboard where they still invest in Cowork and they still invest in code, but you configure it so that it presents its conclusions in a dashboard that they have to log into. It's
Right.
so yeah, I still need to figure out the logistics of that, but it feels like there's something there around letting Claude and Cowork be the agentic architecture, but then selling people the dashboard, which is they
Right.
don't need to see what's going on behind the curtain.
Yeah.
So
I've been thinking a lot of this with ChatGPT apps that just recently are getting in the
yeah,
middle of launching. And then you have the plugins, you have the connectors, you have the, what's the other one? Hang on, there's one more thing in there. It says plugins, connectors, and extensions. Plugins,
yeah,
connectors, and extensions. So those three things are like, I could see, like, for example, with Vibe prospecting, it requires you to log in to use it. Kind of like
hmm
Airtable. Like you have to have an Airtable, you have to have a Zapier. Those
yeah,
require logins to Zap or to use the MCP for these tools.
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how you could package this in a way to where it's a lead magnet, but also a way to get extra money so you can actually, so the uniqueness that you bring, Victor, to the table of like around MedPick can actually get compensated for because it's powerful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I still just get such a kick out of this stuff, right? Look at this. It's writing the emails, right? It's running it through the Victor voice skill so that it's something I'm more likely to write,
Yeah.
accept. And then it does, oh, now let me do a quick quality check to make sure that the
This is voice
emails
guide.
look good. And so, oh,
Yeah.
I see something that needs fixing. So it has this way of checking its own work before it produces an outcome,
Mm.
and then we get the outcome, right? And so now these are the personalized emails. So for Clary, it's pulling these things from my content library, these 3 articles, 2 of my case studies, and 2 of the offers that I give people sometimes access to a GPT that they can analyze MEDDPICC with. And then I've taught it how to write a good email. And look, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Just look at this email, right? What percentage of BDRs do you think write a better email than what's written here,
That's an unfair question because most BDRs are just not equipped, which is not necessarily your fault.
right?
Yeah.
It's hey April, point out where we met each other.
Besides the M dashes, I
Yeah.
love it. But the M dashes are one thing I'm like, ah, M dashes. Yeah,
Look, you always need a human in the loop
that's right.
to double check this stuff, but again, it's a great first start, right? It's a great first draft, I should say. And one of the things I like to do when I do lead nurturing is offer value. And it matches up the pain points of the individual to the resources that I have in this content library. And you can see
Yep.
in email number 2, it's highlighting this BCG and MIT study about how to get the most out of AI beyond pilots, right? That's something that's like thoughtful, right? Connects to their pain points, offers something of value, shows me as an expert, and is really hard to teach a human to
Totally.
connect all those dots regularly
Yeah,
every
that's
single time.
tough. That's really cool.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really
So
awesome. So your content, if I can ask, you made, I'm assuming, and tell me if I'm wrong, you made a folder with your
mhm.
content that can rely on and then double checks in so you can then attach that to the link for your,
Yeah.
so is the content, so I'm gonna get really nitty-gritty, is the content PDFs that it's attaching, or is it a list of links that then attaches via link? How do you attach
So
it?
I have a document in Google Drive that's called my content library. It's got
Mm.
110 pages of podcast episodes,
Crazy.
articles that I really like, articles that I've written. And so and then they're tagged by subject. And so when I'm writing like a drip campaign or something like that, it's taking the pain points that it's heard about the prospect or it's come up in its research, and it's
Hmm.
thinking, what would this person find valuable, and then matching those things to it. So that's how it's using it. It's really like a matching tool between their pain points and the resources that I like to give them, so that my emails aren't just buy something from me, buy something from me, pay attention to me. They're like, hey, I know you
Right.
have this problem. And here's Mark Roberts talking about it, or Coach K talking about it in a
Whatever.
podcast. Does this resonate with you? If so, let's have a conversation about it. That's much
That's
better
really cool.
than you are the CRO of X, Y, and Z, and I want to sell you something.
That's awesome. I love that, dude. And question, when you made that thing, did you use Claude Cowork to create that list, or did you just make it on your own and then you have access? What'd you do?
I actually, yeah, I use Claude. I use Claude for everything.
Of course, you use
There's
Claude.
Yeah. So there is I have another bot that I call I think it's, what is it called? Content processor bot or something like that. And so if I read something over the weekend, oh, this new study came out or something like that, and I think, or I listen to a podcast that I think could be valuable to my audience, I take that content, throw it into this content processor bot, and then it writes a good summary of it. It does the tagging, and it even says this resource is best for these types of pain points. So that, and then I add it to the library, and then it does its matching of the pain point to the asset.
I love that, man. As this tell me, walk me through this. Then we have one more to go through and make sure we don't miss
Yeah,
the
yeah,
last one.
yeah.
This is the
So
fun one.
yeah, let's see what's
Yeah.
going on with all right, here we go. Is this, yeah, so this is MEDDPICC, right? So remember there were 10 calls in the folder, and you could see it's able to identify early stage deals, highly technical engagement, but weak commercial infrastructure, right? And the things that the reps in this sample are struggling the most with is engaging the economic buyer, it's the lowest score, developing
Wow.
champions, right? And getting clear on the paper process, right? And so then you could see it creates this chart, right, for each element of MEDDPICC all across these different sales calls, right? It scored each one individually, and then it gives me the average across them so I can see what are the biggest skill gaps on this team. MEDDPICC, what is it, 7 or 8 different letters there? If
Right.
you go and you hire somebody to teach your team MEDDPICC, that's great. They'll learn each element. But Jonathan may be already pretty good at economic buyer. Victor
Right.
struggles more with metrics and quantifying ROI. And so,
Right.
why should Jonathan's role plays and the focus of the coaching should be the same as Victor's? No, it should be different. And so,
Mhm.
by being able to first analyze these calls at scale, we can see what are the gaps across the team, what are the
Yep.
skills that we really need to focus on in the next 3 to 6 months so we can get better at it. And then what's going on with Jonathan? What's going on with Victor? So that manager in their one-on-one could be like, I'm going to work with Jonathan on economic buyer, but with Victor, it's about quantifying metrics. And so, yeah, the
That's cool.
possibilities are endless.
I'm curious, when you do this, have you ever gone back and spot checked? Like I'm sure you did originally, but how good is how confident are you in the scores from the skills to what you if you went back and watched all these, how close do you think is like within a 10% margin? What would you give it usually?
Yeah, so this is my like sample example, right?
Of
And so
course.
I know these calls in and out because I've been using them for 3 years to
Yeah, yeah.
demo a lot of the work that I've done. And so I know what's in these skills, I know what's in these calls, and I know how they perform. So that's one spot check. But the other thing is I created as part of this workflow, it actually does it does an individual report on each call. So it's not just the
Yeah.
synthesis. It, remember, parallel subagents. So each subagent did its own analysis. So this is one of the calls, right? And so it gave me the snapshot. This is the MEDDPICC scorecard for this one call, right? I ask it to give me direct quotes to back up its conclusions with the timestamp so I can go back and double check it, like decision criteria. This is the exchange between the rep and the buyer where they talked about their decision criteria, right? Where is the gap? What question should the rep have followed up with afterwards, right? And so, yeah, I think that's part of the answer is that it can't just be, here, Claude, here's 10 calls, and then you write me a report. And I'm going to take that on
Right.
faith. You got to build into the process this checking element so that you can cross-reference it and
Yep.
dive deeper if you want to.
I love it. This is cool, man. I love it. Okay, one more. We had the
Yeah, this one's going
research,
to be
we had
really quick.
call, yeah,
Yeah.
and then the make one.
Yeah. So I am not a technical person.
Well,
And so
welcome to the party. Me either.
I know. But with AI, for the first time in my life, I get to pretend like I'm technical.
Right.
And look, I've always fantasized about all these automations and Zapier and this or that, N8N,
Right.
but I've always been afraid to go into that world because it's like you got to write code, you got to do this. And
Right.
I learned that these agentic tools can actually do that for you. It was mind blowing. I need to show you some of the work that I've done just in the last couple of weeks with Cowork. So let me go into my make.com
Yeah,
account.
let's do it. And for reference, Make and Zapier both have connectors into the Cowork area, which is pretty
Mhm.
freaking sweet. But you can also, like you said, you use it using the MCP into the Chrome. So you go into the
Yep.
Chrome browser and builds it live, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
So
It's really cool to see that. So here's my make platform, and then look at my scenarios. So I built all of these in the last 2 weeks through Claude. One of these three, it's a long story, but like I have calls, I'm in back-to-back meetings all day. And what this does is it takes my call transcript from Fathom, throws it into Google Docs, and then classifies the call. Was it a client call, an other call, or a sales call? And then it sends the transcript to Claude with a recap of what happened in the conversation, plus my follow-up email based on the call, and then it creates a draft that sits in my inbox waiting for me. So at the end of the day, when I'm done with 6 or 7 calls in a row, I just go into my draft folder, open them one at a time, and sometimes I'm sitting here for 9 hours a day. And then it's,
right.
what did I say in that 9 a.m. call? What did I promise this person that I was going to send them after the call? I can go
Right.
back and see the full summary of the conversation, my action items that came out of it, and then what else? And then the draft email that I can edit and then send out.
Right.
These are my favorite. I'm still working on nailing these, but this go-to-market engineers, chief AI officers, new CROs that were just hired. These are triggers for the need for my business. And so these
Yeah.
workflows once a week runs a perplexity search for open job roles,
Hmm.
finds who these people are supposed to report to, and then comes up with a drip campaign that allows me to reach out to them using that trigger. And
Crazy.
dude, like, it's a dream, right? Like I've never been able
Yeah.
to actually, I wouldn't even know how to build this on my own, but I just chat with Claude. I say, "Hey Claude, I would like a workflow that does A, B, and C." And it's cool. Let me build it for you. And it knows what's the different modules. It'll tell me, "Oh, I need to write you a prompt for this thing or that thing." I think maybe just in the interest of time, maybe I'll just show you
Sure.
my
Let's get into one.
conversations with it instead, because that is that gives you a taste without everything. So this was, I think, when it was doing this in my browser. And
Right.
so you could see, let's start the very, so I gave it a folder, and this is why it's like magic. I gave it a folder, and within that folder was brainstorming that I did over Christmas holiday on a bunch of automations that I want for my business. So
Cool.
I did a bunch of brainstorming with Claude, and it like mapped out each of those automations. And so I threw them into a folder, and I said, review the automations in this folder and tell me which one you can help me do
With minimal help. I love it.
with minimal help from me. All right. It looks into the folder. It's like, all right, I
Yep.
could do the transcript processing one. I could do the pre-meeting research one. And then I'm like, all right, yeah, let's do it. And then it opens up Make, and it just starts working, searching the transcript folder, connecting it to Google Drive. all of those little modules that you see in the workflow, that it decides which one it needs, it configures it. You can see down here, we get to a point where it starts it like I need prompts. And so this is the
Right.
prompt. I don't know which one this is, but you are Victor's meeting recap. Here's his communication style. Here's the output format for that recap email every single day. Summarize the meeting, give me the action items that came out of it, and then draft the first draft of the email. And so, like, it knows what my goals are, it knows what I need, and it just builds it incrementally. And it'll stop. It'll be like, hey, I need you to help me log in. It refuses to do APIs, which is smart, right? It's okay, you need to go and get your API key from Perplexity and insert it right here. And there was one time I
Right.
put the API into the chat and it was like, by the way, next time don't do that. Don't just give me the API. Yeah, it
Don't do
was
that.
really, really interesting. But yeah, to me, if you are, and this is true with a lot of this AI stuff, it's the creativity that matters. It's the knowing
Yes.
of what you should do that matters, right? It's like my entire life I've been waiting to be able to figure out how to run a search for recently hired CROs in New York City so that I can send them on a
Yes.
drip campaign and tell them how I can help them. That's a
Mhm.
fantasy, but I didn't know how to I don't know how to make work, Zapier, those type of things. But as soon as this capability exists, I'm like, I know the first thing I'm going to want to automate, and then you could do five, six, seven of them in a weekend. So yeah,
Right.
hopefully my enthusiasm is showing.
I love it, man. I love it. I always tell people with AI, I've been saying this since the beginning of prompting, was just saying, best
Mhm.
question you can ask yourself is, I wonder if. I wonder
Yeah,
if I could do this. Push yourself to,
yes,
because you might find that half the things you say, I wonder if, are going to break and not work, but half of them you'd be surprised about how much you can actually do. But it requires you pushing yourself in the AI to think, I wonder if I could do this. And then you do, and you're like, this is crazy. This is
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Have you ever read Ethan Mollick's book, Co-Intelligence?
Yeah, good book. Good book.
Yeah, really good book. My number one takeaway from that book was he says something called invite AI to everything. And when I read that book, I guess 2 years at this point, I thought I was a power user and all of that. And the
Right.
book was just like it has jagged skills, so you don't really know what it's good at. And the only way to know is you ask it to do a bunch of stuff. And that book motivated me to try almost everything with AI, and you just get a deeper appreciation for what it's good at,
Yeah.
what it's not good at, but you don't know that until you test it. And then you're like, okay, it's good at that thing. I can see how if I gave it a better prompt, if I gave it better context, it could actually work. Or whoa, that wasn't even close. I'm
Right.
not that use case is not going to be a good one. So yeah,
Well, it's like trying to score a call. You figure out fast. Oh, the AI doesn't know my scoring model. I got to tell. It doesn't know MEDDPICC. I got to like. And then once, oh, this is really good. So it takes that back and forth to figure out, like you said, where's the limits and where can you rely on. I think it's
yeah,
cool. But
yeah. So yeah, brave new
well,
world, man. Really,
yeah, I'm
hopefully
excited,
this
dude.
was helpful.
Oh yeah, totally. Like what we need to do is do a round two. So you've been on this twice. We need a third
Yes.
time. I give it 3 months max. It'll be something totally different. So
3 months from
it'll
now,
be
you and I
crazy.
are going to have a call and be like, here are my 7 embodied robot agents that are doing outbound prospecting for
It'll,
me all day long and
yeah.
qualifying leads. And now I'm a $1 billion one person business.
It'll be our robots talking to each other. We'll be off. We're doing whatever. We'll be having
Yeah, I'll be
some
on an
dinner
island.
together.
On an island. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Victor, thank you so much. Your website. What's the best website for people to find you?
The best way to reach me is through my website, danaconsulting.com. That's DANA with a hyphen, consulting.com. I also have a newsletter, superintelligencesales.ai. And so that's
Cool.
where I share my thoughts on AI and what's coming. There's also, if you go there, there's access to a bunch of custom GPTs, some little apps that
Cool.
I built with Lovable. So I'm trying to create a community there. And then, of course, find me on LinkedIn. I'm Victor Adefuye. That's Adefuye. So find me. I'm always posting thoughts and use cases, things like that with AI. I'm obviously very passionate about this stuff and always happy to engage with fellow nerds who want to get their hands dirty.
Always a fellow nerds. Yeah, man. JMO and I both have nothing but respect for you, and I've
Thank
recommended you actually to a few different people. So I love and appreciate you willing to do this. I'll make sure, by the way, whoever's listening, all of these will be inside of the show notes and the newsletter, so you can easily just one-click buttons and go there. So I'll make sure you have everything too. But Victor, just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate you, and this was fun. Like, see the behind the scenes. This is cool.
Thank you, Coach K.
Cool. Thanks, you
My
guys.
second
Appreciate
favorite
it.
Coach K. Love it.
I'm okay in this one circumstance. I'm okay being the second this
Yes.
one time.
Yes,
there you go.
yes, for sure.
Appreciate it,
All
man.
right, take it easy.
Thanks for listening to the GTM AI podcast. Please follow, subscribe, like, comment, and come back for more.